Hi, I'm Sonnet with Sonnet's Garden Blooms. I want to welcome you all to my channel. Now, today's video, we're doing another thrift flip. We are taking 5 items that I recently thrifted, and we are going to flip them using the new IOD paint inlays. We're going to be using 2 different ones, the one called Morocco and the other one called Paradise. You can find both of the paint inlays and the paint supplies all on my website to order. So just if it's something at the end that you want to definitely get your hands on, I do have those available to purchase. But I absolutely love these paint inlays. The more that I'm working with them, the more possibilities that I find. And you can definitely use them on smalls and big pieces of furniture. So I'm going to show you that today. So stick around and we are going to dive into all things paint inlays. For today's projects, we're using Bohemian Blue by DIY and the new Paint Inlays by IOD. If you haven't used a paint inlay yet, you guys are in store for a real treat. The paint inlays have been around for a bit, but these are honestly so cool. I love the bohemian feel to both of them. So let's get started, and I'm going to show you how to properly use the paint inlays on furniture and smalls. Project 1, I picked up these 2 candlesticks recently when I was thrifting. We're going to put 1 coat of Bohemian Blue, let that dry, come back, and we are going to apply a 2nd coat and then put the paint inlays in that coat of paint. So right now, this is 1 coat on each of the candlesticks. And now keep in mind, when you get the paint inlays, they're on a very large sheet. You don't necessarily have to use that entire sheet. So when I first started using those, I initially thought, well, I have to find something to use the whole sheet on. I then got a little daring and I started cutting the pieces up and applying them where I need it. Now that you have them cut up, what you do is apply a 2nd coat of the chalk style paint and then take your paint inlay and put it in the chalk style paint. And I take a damp rag and I wet that whole piece up, and I rub with my finger to really embed that paint inlay into that wet paint. I then let it dry, and then I come back after that whole piece is dry, and I then mist it again and take that wet rag and wipe all over, and then I pull back that paper from the paint inlay, and that entire paint inlay will be embedded in your chalk style paint. Now what you'll want to do is come back after it's completely dry and clear coat it. What I do, or what I would recommend you do, is when you're going over the actual areas of the paint inlay, have a lot of the clear coat on the actual brush. What I have been hearing is that the paint inlay can smear. It has not happened to me. I do use all DIY paints for the undercoat, but from what I am understanding, or what I hear from other IOD stockists, is what they're doing is they are actually misting or spraying with like a misting bottle a clear coat to seal it, and then coming back and doing 1 final coat of clear coat. I have not had to do that. I just, like I said, I kind of like do an excess and like almost wipe it over real quick and then clear coat the rest. It has not been an issue for me, but I just wanted to mention that. So if that does smear for you ever, that would be a solution, would be to spray a clear coat on, let that dry, and then give it a good clear coat after. For project 2, I had this old window and I had seen another stockist try putting paint inlays on a window using a type of like a clear coat. So we are going to use Big Top. For starters though, I am going to go in and paint the entire frame of the window the bohemian blue. When I do these thrift flips, I try to make them all go together. That way, when I do set up a vignette, I have all of the pieces set for that specific vignette. We're using 2 different paint inlays. We are going to use Paradise and Morocco. We're going to put Morocco paint inlay around the edge, and then we're going to feature these 2 birds with some flowers in the center. I think that pop of bright color from the actual flowers will look really cool. And so this is where things went awry. I had that all cut out. I'm ready to start laying down all of the Big Top. And this was going really well. So I laid down a coat of the Big Top. I put down the paint inlay. I then applied more Big Top on the top of the actual paint inlay. And my goal here was to leave it on for roughly 10 minutes or until it looked like it was drying and I was going to start peeling it back. And this was all going really well. It was going on and I'm loving already how I'm like, gosh, if this is what it's going to look like as I pull up the paper, this is going to be perfect. And if many of you read my community post, you heard that I was in the ER with my daughter. And at this point, I'm finishing up that centerpiece, and this is when everything went awry. She came downstairs. She was hysterical. She was in a ton of pain. We went right to the ER and found out that she had a gallbladder stone that she actually had passed, and it actually had gotten stuck while it was passing, which was causing like this severe pain. So I'm in the ER and I say to my mom, I call my mom and I'm like, this was only supposed to be on here for 10 minutes at top, like 15 tops possibly. It's been now hours. Can you go back and just spray a ton of water on it because it's probably going to be rock hard. We'll want to loosen up, I'm assuming, the Big Top. And she did that, and then the bottom area, and she pulled up and it all had peeled back. I told her to just stop and leave it and I would finish it when I got home. So I thought it was a complete loss. When I got home though, what I discovered was I did peel all that bottom area off. And when I started to miss slightly on the top area and peel that paper back, it was a perfect paint inlay. So it had actually worked. My mistake was to tell my mom to spray it very heavily, and when she did that, she actually had reactivated it so much that the paint basically smeared and peeled right back off on the bottom portion. So what I have done here is I have relayed the bottom. We are going to let that dry and I'm going to show you what that looks like. I'm going to peel this back. So I just sprayed a little bit, misted that paper, and then I grab the corner and I just start peeling back and just slowly doing that. And you can see the image is just perfect. Oh, I was so excited that I mastered this technique. And so this actually was 2 sheets. So then I started pulling again on that second one. And I just kept pulling back, and there you have it. For the next step, I flipped the window over, and I'm using bohemian blue, and I'm applying the bohemian blue to the whole back side. And I think this is where I made a mistake. I loved that whole theme of the bohemian blue. I still should have kept the frame the bohemian blue color, but I think to make the whole image pop even more, I really think white in the background might have looked a little bit better. But went with the Bohemian Blue, and I still love the outcome. I just think maybe white would have made it pop. And then I don't want to forget the last step is I did coat the entire back with Big Top, and the front I did as well. I sealed that whole paint inlay with one final coat of Big Top. For project 3, we are going to use the Paint Inlay Morocco. And I had picked this chair up on the curb a while back. I did paint it already with the Bohemian Blue. My vision here is just to put the paint inlay right on that center of the back of the chair. I like that medallion look on the paint inlay. So the nice thing about all the sheets, each paint inlay comes with 8 sheets and they all line up. So that way, if you are doing a big project, they very nicely line up so your image is perfect all the way across. So I cut out right where I had wanted it, and I cut the other nice thing too I should mention is on the back there are grid lines, so you cut a perfectly straight line whenever you are cutting out. So now that it is all cut out, I'm going to apply the coat of the chalk style paint. I'm going to lay my paint inlay into the chalk style paint. And then I am going to take a wet rag and just embed it, like basically wet that whole area. A nice thing that I did not have on hand that you can use is a brayer. And the brayer will help you really embed that inlay into your paint. Now that the paint inlay is completely dry, I'm taking my misting bottle and I'm going to mist the entire paint inlay again. Taking that damp rag, I'm just going to wipe away any excess water and just make sure that whole paint inlay is completely wet. And then I start peeling back, and there you have it. Is that not just the most beautiful thing? I absolutely love how this turned out. For our 4th project, I went into my stash and I found this footstool. I thought it would be a perfect addition to my vignette, and I painted the base, the Bohemian Blue. I painted the top of the footstool vintage linen. And I painted the base with 2 coats because I was not going to apply the paint inlay to the actual base. And for starters, I only applied 1 coat of the vintage linen to the top. Now that the whole piece is fully dry, we are going back and applying a 2nd coat of the vintage linen to the top. When you're using a paint inlay, on that 2nd coat is where the paint inlay is going to be embedded. So I'm going to center the entire piece, and I am going to rub all over to really get that paint inlay embed it. Like I said, if I had a brayer, afterwards I thought about it. I actually sell brayers on my website and I have them. I should have pulled one of those out to really help embed that in there. But I used that wet rag in the misting bottle and wiped it and got everything thoroughly wet. And then we're gonna set it aside to let it completely dry. Now that it's completely dry, what we're doing is we're going back with that misting bottle and we're going to mist it really well, and then take that rag, that damp rag, and wipe away any of the excess. And now that it's completely wet, what we're going to do is we are going to start peeling back the paint inlay paper, and you can see how beautiful this turned out. That paint inlay all embedded into that paint. It's absolutely gorgeous, and I love how this turned out. Now we're going to go ahead and we are going to seal the entire piece with Big Top. For our fifth and final project, I had picked this basket up and I thought, what a perfect opportunity to try the paint inlays out on baskets. I started off by painting the entire rim the bohemian blue. So we are applying the paint inlay just like we did on the past projects. The only difference, and I wanted to try liquid patina versus the Big Top. So I don't know if the application would have been different if I would have used Big Top versus the liquid patina. I probably should have kept everything the same on this practice run, but I thought, well, liquid patina may work. It's a type of clear coat. So it did not work out exactly how I had wanted. And I don't know if if it was due to the liquid patina or if we are working with a very uneven surface. I'm assuming it's the uneven surface that caused the paint inlay to not come out in such a beautiful pattern. So I removed the paper just like I had in my past projects. I used the misting bottle, sprayed it to wet the paper, wiped any of the excess water off with that damp rag, and in the end, I just wish that it would have made a better adherence of the actual image. It turned out nice. I just wish the image would have popped a little bit better. So what was your favorite item? Honestly, mine was the window. I think because it was such a great learning experience. I love learning new techniques, how to do different things or different techniques like that. So that by far was my favorite, and I think it turned out absolutely gorgeous. I do have a show coming up in May, and I plan on cranking out a few more windows with the paint inlays and the transfers. So if you haven't seen the one with the transfer, it is a couple videos ago. That one turned out beautiful too. All right, well, I want to apologize that this is late coming out, guys, but I made it happen. Like I said, I was in the midst of the projects when I had to drop everything suddenly and bring my daughter to the ER. I want to thank you all for all the kind words. She is doing okay. She did pass the gallstone, and we're just following up next week. Just find out what's going on and why it happened. But I do appreciate it, but life happens, and we're going to go on and figure things out. Now, a couple things. The doors for my membership are closing on Monday. So if you are interested in being a founding member, All the details I will have listed below for that, or just reach out to me and I can send you the link for the bio of it. All the details will be in that. We are getting started, and there are quite a few members already in the group, and I look forward to a whole bunch more. And I also want to give a shout out to a fellow YouTuber, Heather from Create Your Own Cozy. And if you haven't checked out her channel, it is a must-have checkout. Honestly, guys, she is great, and she just hit 5K. I'm so proud of her. So if you haven't been to her channel, go check it out. She is all about DIY, and she's got so many amazing, great ideas as well. That's Heather from Create Your Own Cozy. All right, well, you guys, we'll see you Monday. I'm not really entirely sure what I have planned yet. But I am having so much fun with all these thrift flips lately that probably another thrift flip. I need to get ready for, like I said, my show in May, and I am still stocking the heck out of my boots. So we'll see you Monday, and you guys have a great weekend. Bye.